Please welcome to the stage Whitney Connolly. Where are you, Whitney?
The night of the marathon bombing in Boston, I'm in bed. I'm next to my sleeping husband. He's out cold, snoring, or at least breathing in a way that annoys me. And I'm wide awake, and I'm kind of replaying the events of the day. And there's one particular moment that I'm really trying not to think about. But if I'm being honest with myself, which I wasn't then, but I can be now, it was all I was thinking about. Most of you probably know that Patriots Day or Marathon Monday is a big day in Boston. Most of the city takes the day off. A lot of the state takes the day off. And on top of the marathon, there's also usually a daytime Red Sox game at Fenway Park. And this particular year, the company I was working for at the time, a vendor had given us Red Sox tickets. And my boss, his name was Kevin, asked if I wanted to go. And who says no to free Red Sox tickets? So we went. And at the end of the game, it was still pretty early in the day. The elite runners had finished, but there were plenty of people still out on the course. So we wandered down to the corner of Boylston. And the magic part about this corner is it's where the runners round the corner and they can see the finish line for the first time. And it was just this magical moment of joy on their faces, made even more magical by the fact that it was the most beautiful day. It was sunny. It was that spring day that happens every year in New England where we all collectively remember what it feels like to be warm. And it was this wonderful experience. And my boss, Kevin, he'd run a marathon before, but I'd never even been to one. And so I'm like into it. I'm like, let's go to the finish line. Let's watch people cross the finish line. And he's like, absolutely not. It's a zoo down there. It's going to be super crowded. You're never going to see anything. Like, let's go get food. And I pushed a little bit, but not hard enough. And eventually, after a little while of watching the runners, we turned around and we walked a few blocks in the other direction to go find something to eat. And it was during that walk that we heard the first blast. And I looked at him and I said, did they set off cannons at the end of the race? And he said, no. And while we were standing there kind of trying to figure out what had happened, we heard the second blast, and we realized it was kind of coming from the direction of the finish line, so we walked back in that direction to see what was going on, and we round a corner, and there's just a wall of people running at us. And so he grabs my hand, and we start running with them, and there's this really disconcerting thing that happens where police, who are normally like calm and in control, are screaming at us to run. And so we're running, and that's when the moment that I'm trying not to think about that night happens, which is louder than the police and louder than the sirens and louder than everyone running is this voice in my head that says, thank God I'm with Kevin, which is a weird thing to think about a man who is not your husband. So I'm lying in bed that night, and I'm trying not to think about the fact that maybe this little crush that I've had on my boss that I was kind of treating like, when you're a kid, or at least for me, there's like that cute college boy lifeguard who works at the town pool, but you're 12, and you like have a crush on him, or maybe like a movie star, right? So like, this impossible thing that you're kind of ignoring. And I manage to brush it aside. I try not to think about it. I don't. I go on with my life. But about a year later, I do end up getting a divorce, and not because of any of this, but I have about 100 stories I could tell you about why, but I do end up getting a divorce, and not long after that, Kevin asked me to be his girlfriend, and my immediate reaction to that is absolutely not. He's my boss. I love my job, and I'd probably get fired. He's just gone through a weird, contentious divorce. He has a preteen daughter. He's 12 years older than I am. Like, this is a terrible idea on paper. But it's then that I kind of let myself remember that in a moment where it felt like life or death, and it was terrifying, it felt really good to be holding his hand. So I said yes to being his girlfriend, and I said I do to being his wife, and we have a 4-year-old, and I have an awesome stepdaughter who's now in college. And that Marathon Monday was horrible and awful for myself and so much more horrible and awful for so many other people. But there was this one tiny moment that made my life so much better. Thank you.